Hi everyone, my name is Jen. I'm an author and a book reviewer, and I'm here today to talk to you about the best books under 200 pages, because this is a topic I'm passionate about. I love a short book. We could be here a while, but yes, I've picked 10 books from my shelves that are under 200 pages. So if you're looking to squeeze in a short book by the end of the year, or maybe kickstart your 2026 reading with a short read, I've got you covered. I will list all the books I mention in the description box down below. I'm going to try and talk about books I haven't spoken about those before. And what I've also done, as well as picking 10 books that I would recommend, I've picked 10 books from my shelves that I haven't yet read that are under 200 pages and I would like to get to soon. And this doubles up as a haul because nearly all of the books that I'm going to talk to you about that are in that yet to be read pile are new books. So I've never spoken about them on this channel before, so I'm excited to talk to you about those. This video is also very kindly sponsored by Serious Readers, and we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so my first recommendation is What Willow Says by Lynn. I discovered this as part of the Barbellion Prize, which is currently on pause and I hope it comes back, but is a prize for the best representation of disability in literature, and is championing own voice disabled writers, which is wonderful. And this is one of my favourites. We've got another favourite somewhere on this list as well. Actually, I think from the same year, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, this is about a grandmother and her relationship with her granddaughter, who is deaf. And she's very protective over this granddaughter, and she is anxious about her going out into the world and communicating with other people because they've come up with this language that she feels is their own. She's learning official, in inverted commas, sign language, but they have their own way of communicating and she doesn't want that bond to break. This kind of relationship and this anxiety can be transposed into so many different parent or carer child situations, and I found it so heartwarming and a brilliant look at deafness as well. Next we have Pizza Girl by Kyoung Frazier, which is one of my favourite books from this year. This is about a teenage girl who works as a pizza delivery girl, and she's feeling a bit lost, a bit sad. She's content in a way with her home life with her mum and her partner, but it feels a little bit repetitive to her. And then hanging over all of this is the grief over the complicated loss of her father. And then one day a woman calls up saying, could you please deliver a pizza for my son? He won't eat anything apart from, I think, a pizza that has pickles on it. So she goes to the local store, buys pickles and puts it on a pizza because the pizza place she works at doesn't normally make that kind of thing, and takes it to her. And then they start this really interesting relationship, the two of them, and I was completely captivated by this tale. And next up on my pile is a non-fiction book, and this is Frida, Kahlo and My Left Leg by Emily Rapp Black. This is a brilliant look at disability and art, and perception of disability as well. The way that disability is gazed upon in a similar way to art, but judged completely differently. And I'm going to read you this extract here. In many tales of transformation, the girl enters the forest, literally or metaphorically, and is changed. Perhaps she is saved by an animal with which she is briefly aligned, or by her own sharp wits and clever mind. Perhaps she perishes among the dark trees and remains unsaved, then later used as a cautionary tale for others who might be tempted to follow her rebellious example. When a girl like me, like Frida, loses a limb and gains an artificial one, she learns to appear and reappear on almost a daily basis. Strap it on, strap it off. This is a kind of art form to change so often, to hold the before and the after together in one's mind as well as in one's body. It's brilliant. Then we've got The Therapist by Nial, Giacomelli, which is a apocalyptic tale but with a twist. This is about a world where people just start either disappearing or becoming invisible, but it really is about the breakdown of communication in a relationship and about grief. I just found it so haunting. Fairlight Moderns are really a fun publishing house, and their editions like this, the Fairlight Moderns, can fit into your pocket, which I really enjoy. Next we've got Spring Garden by Tomoko Shibasaki, and this is translated from the Japanese by Polly Barton. It is about a woman and a man who live in an apartment block, and their two of very few people who live in this apartment block because it's about to be torn down. They've been told they need to leave. And these two people don't really want to leave because they don't know where else they can go. They're both very lost and they have become fixated on this house that they can see out of their window and they want to get inside it. They're kind of projecting all of their insecurities, their warped memories onto this place, and they think if they could get into that house then it would help them understand the world as a whole. They feel as though their reality is being demolished along with the building and that everything is just extremely temporary. And it's almost like when you're reading this book, you feel as though you're keeping them alive by observing them. Next, we have got Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss. You know that I love Sarah Moss. This is about a teenage girl called Sylvie who's staying in a hut in Northumberland on this Iron Age site as this experiment in sociology and anthropology. And her parents are with her. Her dad is a really difficult person to get on with, to live with. And there's also a group of school children who are there on a trip. And whilst it is an experiment in anthropology and trying to see how people would have lived and survived back in those times, really it's just a look at how they survive as this really uncommunicative, fractured family unit with a father who does feel like his views belong, you know, a very long time ago. I just thought this was really understated and wonderful. And another book that's understated and wonderful is Seascraper by Benjamin Wood. I know I've spoken about this a lot recently because I'm still irked that it didn't make the Booker Prize shortlist. It was my favourite from this year's long list. I read all of the longlisted books. I'll link that video in the description box down below. But this is about a young man called Tom who feels like he's in his 40s, but he's not. He's just been very battered by life. And he goes out every day with his horse to a beach in the northwest of England where he lives to scrape the shore for shrimp, which he sells for not that much money. Then one day, a man called Edgar turns up on his doorstep and says, "Hey, I want to make a film and I'm going to give you money in order to help me make that film." And the plot goes on from there. It's so atmospheric. It really got under my skin. I was deeply moved by it and I've been thinking about it ever since. I would recommend this for fans of both Claire Keegan and Muriel Spark. Next up, we have got Passing by Nella Larsen, which is one of my favourite classics. It's set in 1920s Harlem. It's about two friends called Irene and Claire, both lighter skinned black women who have led very different lives. So Irene has married a black man and is living very happily in Harlem. Claire, on the other hand, is passing for white. She's married a white man. She hasn't told him about her family. She's moved away from where she grew up. And then Claire and Irene meet each other again. And Claire in particular wants to interact with Irene, but neither understands the life choices that they have made. And Claire could also really endanger Irene's life because Claire's husband is a very violent, racist man. And if he found out about Claire's past and also found out that she was friends with Irene and with other black people, then he would react really badly to that. So this is about how they navigate that situation, and I think it's brilliant. Then we've got I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel, which was shortlisted for the Women's Prize a couple of years ago. It is an unnamed narrator who is obsessed with stalking her, well, the man she wants to be with, I think is what she calls him. So she stalks his lover online. She has a very complicated relationship with him and even more complicated non-relationship, but she thinks it's a relationship with this man's lover, and she takes it offline and it turns into something else instead. I mean, this is a very confronting read about online existence. And then, as I mentioned, I had another brilliant disability book to talk to you about. This is Elena Knows by Claudia Pineiro, which is translated from the Spanish by Frances Riddle. This was the first Claudia Pineiro book I read, and I've since gobbled up lots of her books. I think she's brilliant. This is about a woman called Elena, and she recently lost her daughter, Rita. Everyone thinks that Rita died by suicide, but Elena is convinced that she's been murdered, and she wants to investigate this. It's about the complicated relationship between Elena and Rita. They weren't close when Rita was alive, and Elena regrets this. She can't fix it. But it's also about the frustration that she feels towards her own body. Elena has Parkinson's, and this book is written in Crip time, so we're following her through every little movement throughout the day, and you really feel like you're there with her. I don't really feel as though I've read disability being written about in this way in fiction before, and I was completely blown away by it. It was my favourite book the year that I read it, and if you haven't read it yet, you really need to. Before we talk about more books, as I said, this video is sponsored by Serious Readers, so let me very quickly talk to you about that. Welcome to my living room. This is my sofa and this is my Serious Light. It is a high definition model and I've had it now for 5 years. They reached out to me, Serious Readers, and asked if I would like to try one of their high definition lights. This is a floor light and you can adjust the height. It uses something called daylight wavelength technology, which mimics daylight as closely as possible, which is amazing. It is honestly the best reading light I've ever used, and if for some reason this vanished from my life, I would purchase another one tomorrow with my own money. It's that good. It helps me read smaller text more comfortably and for longer. I have really dry eyes, so it helps with that, but I mean, you don't need to have dry eyes in order to want to have a good reading light. It would be good for other things like doing puzzles and sewing, knitting, if that is your jam, rather than reading. Though I imagine you read if you're watching my videos. Maybe you do both. Listen to audiobooks and knit. Amazing. I'm currently reading this, which is actually a spoiler for my end of year best books, because it will appear on there and I'll do a cutaway showing you this light as I'm reading this book. But this is brilliant and also under 200 pages, so an extra recommendation for you. This is Someone to Watch Over You by Kumi Kimura, which is translated from the Japanese by Yuki Teshima. I won't talk about it here, but it is brilliant. You can go and read about it if you want. Anyway, I love this reading light so much. They are a UK based company. They are small. They make all of their lights in the UK as well. If you use my code JEN and click the link in the description, then you can get £150 off a high definition essential light and also a high definition pro light. They also do a 5-year warranty, and at the moment they have an extended, let me get this right, 90-day risk-free trial on the HD Pro. They have different models. Go check out the link, see which one appeals to you the most. I absolutely love them. I love what they make and they make my life better. So yes, thank you very much to Serious Readers for sponsoring this video. Okay, let's move on to the books that I haven't read yet. Okay, so I'm gonna give a quick shout out. I've mentioned them before, but this is not included in my 10, but if you haven't listened to me talk about this before, Strangers Press are a brilliant publishing company based in Norwich, and they publish short pamphlets in a series. So they've got a couple of series of Korean pamphlets, some Japanese, some Dutch, some Swiss, and it's a great way to check out new authors whose work you then might want to go read more, buy. So each pamphlet I would say is about 25 pages, maybe 50 pages. And yeah, they're great. So that's just an aside, an extra recommendation. I'll link them in the description box down below. All right, so my first book officially on this list is The Beautiful Bureaucrat by Helen Phillips. Her book Hum is one of my favorite books this year. I also really loved her book The Need. So when I read that, I needed, to purchase this one, and this one is 174 pages. This, I think, is about the mundane nature of work, which is something that I'm drawn towards in fiction. But it's about Josephine, who's taken on a very boring job, but then one evening her husband Joseph disappears and then returns, offering no explanation as to his whereabouts, and her creeping sense of unease turns to dread. The way that Helen Phillips makes me feel uneasy in everything of hers I've read so far is striking. I feel quite ill when I read her books because she writes about very stressful situations, a bit like Rumen Alarm's Leave the World Behind. That's the level of uncomfort that I have when I'm reading these books. Why do I want more of that, you wonder? I wonder that myself sometimes, but I do. Next on my list, we have two books that aren't out until April, but I first discovered this author in one of the Stranger Press's pamphlet series, the Japanese pamphlet series. This is Nao-Cola Yamazaki, and these books are translated by Polly Barton from the Japanese. They're published by Daunt Books, and there are other books of hers that you can go check out in the meantime. The publicist at Daunt Books stuck a post-it note to this one, which says, "You might need tissues nearby for this one, so moving." So that is exciting. Oh, hang on, I have to correct myself. This one, which is called Don't Laugh at Other People's Sex Lives, is translated by Polly Barton But this one, which is called Beautiful Distance, is translated by Charlotte Goff. Okay, let's find out what they're about, because I just said yes to these review copies based on the fact that I have read and loved her work in the past. Okay, so Don't Laugh at Other People's Sex Lives is a very short one. It is 71 pages. It's about a relationship between an art student and their teacher. And then we have got Beautiful Distance, which is apparently the one that will make me cry. It says, our narrator is preparing to visit his terminally ill wife. I mean, yeah, okay. Our narrator is preparing to visit his terminally ill wife in hospital and begins to reminisce on their life together. What follows is a profoundly affecting and intimate story that looks with tenderness at the journey towards the end of a life. Perfect for fans of Emi Yagi's Diary of a Void, which I did love. That was one of my favourite books a couple of years ago. Another publisher that publishes short, that was hard to say, a publisher that publishes short books is Pushkin and their Japanese novella series. I've read plenty of those in the past and reviewed them here, and I've got 3 new ones here that I have bought recently. First up, we have got Spark by Naoki Matayoshi, and this is about someone who's trying to make a name for themselves in the comedy circuit in Tokyo, which just sounds like a very difficult thing to be doing, and then is taken under the wing of someone who is very out there and does ridiculous things, and it's about their relationship together. Next we have got Toshiki Okada's The End of the Moment We Had, which is 2 stories, and I think both are about young people, adrift in a world without security, full of desires they can't quite name. One of them is about a couple who find unexpected deliverance, fleeting and anonymous, at a love hotel, and one is about a woman living in a damp flat who spirals deep into her memories and anxieties, aching for something more from her husband. And then we've got Hideo Furukawa's Slow Boat, which is about a man who has been abandoned apparently by a series of girlfriends and feels trapped, but he is not going to admit defeat, and so he says he's going to escape the city, but through his dreams. I'm not quite sure what that means, but it says that it's filled with a lyrical longing and is an inventive and wryly funny story of the need to find yourself even in a world that never seems to be looking for you. Ouch. The Hotel by Daisy Johnson is one that I bought recently. I have read her work before. I've particularly enjoyed her short stories, and I wanted something dark and creepy for this time of year. I know that Halloween has gone, but I don't care about that. I just like reading creepy little stories towards the end of the year. And it begins like this. This is what we know about the hotel. It is bigger on the inside than the outside. Do not go into room 63. Doors and windows do not stay in the same places. The hotel listens when you speak. The hotel watches. The hotel knows everything about you. The hotel knew you before you arrived. The hotel looks different to different people. Will be at the hotel soon. The hotel is familiar. The hotel is a stranger in an alley. I don't want to know any more than that. Like, I am hooked. And then we have got a new book from Eliza Shua Dusapin, which is translated from the French by Anissa Abbas Higgins. I've really enjoyed some of her books in the past. I wasn't that hooked on Winter in Sokjo, which seemed to be a real booktube darling, but I fell in love with the Pachinko Parlor, and this one is her latest. It says, in the wake of her father's death, Agatha returns to her childhood home in the French countryside after 15 years away. She and her sister Vera have not seen each other in all that time apart. Now they must empty their home before it is knocked down. Vera stopped speaking when she was 6. As the pair sift through a lifetime's worth of belongings, old memories and resentments resurface. This one is out in January. And 2 brand new releases. We have got The Wax Child by Olga Raun, which is translated from the Danish by Martin Aitken. Extra recommendation for you under 200 pages. The Employees by Olga Raun is so good. I haven't got round to reading her book The Work yet because it's massive, but that one is a book about motherhood, which I really would like to get to at some point. But this one is about a wax child and about witch trials. I don't really want to know more than that, but I'm so intrigued because it's so different to the previous book by her that I've read, because The Employees is science fiction and is set in space, and this is historical fiction. But I just feel like she's very atmospheric no matter what she's writing, so very excited about that. And then this is a book I requested for review from Emma Press, and they published some really great stuff, including work by Nina Mia Powell's. So this is The Waiter by Kwan Ang Tang, and I think this is kind of a choose your own adventure story, which could be gimmicky, but I don't think will be in this instance. I have everything crossed. It says, "Your time is precious. Book a waiter now." London, in a not too distant future. The city is being swallowed into the ground. The rich are still getting richer, and the waiters do the jobs you don't have time for. They queue for your concert tickets, stay in for your deliveries, and stir your risotto. Step into the shoes of an unnamed waiter who has no recollection of who they were before their role at the company. Now select your next job and decide whether to peek into the client's luggage or if you'll risk losing work credits by helping a tired woman with her shopping. With 11 different endings and countless journeys towards them, The Waiter creates a labyrinthine world of possibilities, parallel worlds which combine to explore queer longing, consumerism, and agency in a city and a psyche on the brink of collapse. I mean, come on, does that not sound amazing? I'm quite obsessed with that blurb, which is why I read it to you, because that's what sold me the book in the first place. So those are 10 books I've read and loved, and 10 books that I hope to read and love. Thank you again to Serious Readers for sponsoring this video. I'll link them in the description box. Also, housekeeping, because I am working with Serious Readers this autumn, winter, I am going to be bringing you a little bit more content, which I'm very excited about. So you can expect a few more videos than I have been uploading recently. Coming up, we've got Christmas gift guide, we have got a reading vlog, we've got a few things going on. I'm also doing Vlogmas over on Patreon, which I have done for the past, I think it's 6 or 7 years now. And if you would like to watch that, it's $2 for the entire month. And I'll be uploading a video over there every day from the 1st to the 24th of December, answering questions. You can think of it like a bookish advent calendar. So yes, I will link that in the description box down below. Basically, you can see a lot of me over the next few weeks if you are so inclined. Thank you as always for being here. If you're new to my channel and you like this video, please do hit subscribe. And yeah, if you want to check out Patreon, that would be very kind as well. I'm sending lots of love to you all, and I'll speak to you later. Bye.